An investigation continues this morning into what caused that partial collapse of a high-rise apartment building in the Bronx yesterday. And as we've been saying, miraculously, no one was injured.
Dozens of families, though, were displaced after the collapse. This is in the district of Democratic Congressman Mitchel Torres. He was on the site yesterday outside the Mitchel Houses in the Mott Haven section, and now he's with us this morning. Congressman Torres, nice to have you back on Good Day.
It's an honor to be here.
So what did you see? What did you hear from the people who lived there when you were at the scene yesterday?
Well, I saw a whole corner of the building collapsing in real time. I was originally in Washington, D.C., and when I found out about the collapse, I immediately flew back to the Bronx. A building collapse in a densely populated public housing development easily could have become a mass casualty event. It's nothing short of a miracle that there was not a single fatality or a single injury, but there is overwhelming trauma, right? There were tenants who were in the building, who heard the explosion, who felt their homes shaking, who were fleeing the building thinking that it was collapsing, and then saw bricks raining down from the top of the building. So there's overwhelming trauma in the Bronx, and we want to ensure that the families who have been displaced are going to have access to permanent housing. I've raised about $20,000 to support the families, and we'll continue to do more.
Just from yesterday, you raised 20.
Yeah.
So how many families are displaced? There's no chance they're going back there?
Yeah, so since only part of the building collapsed, there's only a partial vacate, 2 lines, F and G. So the rest of the building has been deemed structurally safe. But I feel strongly if tenants are too afraid to return, the New York City Housing Authority should be providing them with housing accommodations.
Okay, so correct me if the numbers are wrong. We hear roughly 100 people, 36 units have been displaced, and then all the people that are still there, their apartments have to be checked. Where are these people in the meantime, or where will they go in the meantime?
So the families in the 35 units are going to be placed in hotels, right? NYCHA has a system for relocating them, and then the rest of the tenants have the ability to return. But if there are tenants who are too afraid, then we will advocate for housing accommodations for those tenants. But I also want to emphasize, we cannot separate the collapse of a public housing building from the broader collapse of federal funding for public housing. Like the New York City Housing Authority has been so savagely starved of funding that it has a capital need of $80 billion. Mitchel Houses, which is 60 years old, has over $700 million in capital needs. And so when you defund the basic systems of a building, the bricks and the boilers, the roofs and the elevators, you're creating dangerous conditions for the tenants who live there.
Are you concerned this could spread to other buildings then?
I worry that a building collapse is not a question of if, it's a question of when. Obviously, we need to see the results of the investigation, but it's no secret that we have a rapidly aging and declining housing stock. We have public housing buildings that date back to 1935, and the majority of these buildings predate the 1970s.
I don't know what the problem is, but, we hear about NYCHA problems all the time, whether it's heating, air conditioning, mold, mice, cracked ceilings. Nothing ever seems to get done on these buildings. It takes months and months and months. And then we had, don't forget, the Legionnaire's disease. Yeah. Those were NYCHA buildings.
Yeah, but ultimately, NYCHA housing is federal housing. Like, public housing is primarily regulated by the federal government. It's a federal obligation. It has been for nearly 90 years. And the federal government's approach to public housing has been demolition by neglect. Like, this building collapse was not an accident. It's a consequence of decades of disinvestment.
Okay, so you're in Washington. What are you doing about it?
We're fighting to secure funding for public housing.
How?
Look, we need to first win back the House because Republicans have no interest.
You had the House. You had the House for 4 years.
In the House of Representatives, we passed legislation, the Build Back Better Act, that included $40 billion for public housing, only to see that legislation filibustered in the Senate. So we did our part in the House. The Senate failed.
What I was hinting towards, or trying to get you to talk about, is that you wrote a letter to HUD asking for specific funds. In the midst of a government shutdown, do you think that's going to be listened to?
Look, our argument to HUD is that a building collapse is an emergency, and exceptions are made for an emergency, and so HUD should be providing the City of New York with emergency funding to A, restore the partially collapsed building, and B, relocate those tenants to permanent housing who have been displaced.
When do you think you're going to go back to D.C.? What's going on with this government shutdown?
I intend to return to D.C. later on today. I'm going to head back to the South Bronx, to Mitchel Houses. But, what is at stake is not only the government shutdown, but the health care of millions of Americans.
I know the Republicans keep saying that the Democrats are holding out because they want to make sure that illegal migrants get health care. Is that true?
That's a lie. This is about the Affordable Care Act tax credits.
But is that part of...
Undocumented immigrants are ineligible for the Affordable Care Act tax credits.
So you want to make sure that they're included?
No, these are American citizens. So there are 4 million American citizens who are in danger of losing their health care. There are 24 million American citizens who will see their health care costs rise by as much as 75%. There are hospitals that serve American citizens that could lose $28 billion if we do nothing. So what we want is a bipartisan agreement that will reopen the government, but also keep health care affordable to the American people.
Okay, so this is in the lap of the Senate right now. The House passed the continuing resolution. You voted no against it, but the House passed it. While you sit there on the sideline, we see that the Trump administration has already put on pause $18 billion in infrastructure funds here in the New York area. They've gone really after Democrat states with $8 billion in other funds that they're saying we're going to withhold or cancel. Are you having any concern that this is not only having an immediate effect, the shutdown, but could have a long-term effect if those infrastructure or funds for whatever the various causes are refunded?
First, the Trump administration has been engaged in mass firings and funding freezes long before the government shut down. But we want a bipartisan compromise. We're asking the Republicans, come to the negotiating table. We want a compromise that could reopen the government and keep health care affordable. Democrats are largely in Washington, D.C., whereas Republicans are essentially on vacation. The Republicans are content to let the government shut down and let millions of people lose their health care. That is an unacceptable outcome to Democrats.
Do you have a sense that people in Washington understand that people across America are sick of it? You know, you can go, it's the Republicans go, it's the Democrats, but people are just like, look, it's affecting my life, and you guys are finger pointing. Do you have a sense that people in Washington understand that?
The central cost that Americans are facing is health care. It's the leading cause of bankruptcy in America. And so if I have a constituent who tells me I'm in danger of losing my health care unless Congress acts, am I supposed to tell them there's nothing we can do about it? Our constituents expect us to fight for them, to fight for a more affordable cost of living, to fight for health care. Like, that's a bread and butter issue. This is not a side issue. It's central to what Congress should be doing.
Well, we appreciate you fighting for everybody in the Bronx. And on a different subject, what do you think about the Yankees?
I love the Yankees.
Okay.
That's the one issue on which we should agree. So. Although I'm so committed to bipartisanship that I occasionally have tolerance for Mets fans, but that's it.
You don't have to worry about them right now. Yeah. The Yankees are there, the Mets are
The
not.
Yankees reign supreme.
Okay, we'll find out tonight. Big Game 3 going on in the Bronx against the Red Sox. Mitchel Torres, Congressman from the Bronx, thank you so much for joining us. Always good to see you.
Go fight for us.
Always a pleasure.
All right, thank you so much.